The consciousness and the cosmos, a path to one's own inner cosmos, in assistance of a more profound understanding of the current planetary transition.
A stimuli that accompanies the pilgrim in his return to his cosmic home. Offered by the Uksim Planetary Service Centre, this enriched edition of the Consciousness and the Cosmos showcases a collection of insightful recordings featuring the teachings of Daniel Gagliardo, founder and instructor of Cosmosophy line Uksim, captured during Cosmosophy gatherings held across Europe and the serene landscape of Uksim, Argentina.
Welcome back, dear listeners. My name is Biljana, and today, along with Ara Winak, we will present a translation of the following topics raised at one of the Cosmosophy gatherings with Daniel Gagliardo. I have been delving into the works of Daniel Gagliardo and have noticed that he places significant importance on the concept of the inner life, which encompasses elements such as silence, introspection, and the essence of the inner self.
We will hear Daniel Gagliardo's valuable insights aiming to enrich our comprehension of the concept of inner life. This exploration is essential for unlocking deep understanding and appreciation of inner experiences. Let's hear what Daniel Gagliardo shares with us. This perspective is common to almost all philosophy. It is just that some philosophies, which are more rooted in a psychic realm, regard psychic process as internal and the concrete physical as external. However, in all occult and esoteric contexts, each with its own nuances, the inner life is understood to be the aspect of life concerning to our own consciousness, governed by the spiritual or inner laws. Thus, there is an aspect of three-dimensional psychophysical laws governed in this case, or in this particular context, by the law of karma. And there are cosmic spiritual inner laws, which are what we refer to as inner or inner life. Therefore, inner life, from the perspective of Cosmosophy, is supramental life, while outer life is the life that extends from our upper or higher levels of consciousness downwards to the three-dimensional levels.
Thus, external life is the life still governed on our planet by the law of karma. These are the three laws governed by the law of karma: the mental, astral emotional, and the etheric physical laws. And the inner life is governed by intuitive, spiritual, monadic, and divine laws. That is simply the case.
We sometimes make pointed observation regarding the fact that identification with the combination of psychophysical laws, that is, that which is governed by the law of karma, has led us to a state of closeness
where practically the only thing we can confirm is truth as something psychological, as something material, yet we have not yet been able in a genuinely practical, stable and elevated way to confirm truth as an inner aspect of consciousness.
So that is simply what we are pointing out specifically, and at times insistently, that if what we are out here as personalities means the psychophysical entity that is the personality as well as the ego, which is the extension of the soul immersed in a three-dimensional substance, then if we cannot break our identification with those external aspects and achieve sufficient enlightenment and harmony with those internal laws, with the inner life, we cannot continue to progress. We remain, so to speak, trapped within the natural cycle and rhythm of evolution, which is very slow and very limited. For everything governed in evolutionary terms by nature, which is the psychophysical condition of the being, is delayed, falls into a slow rhythm, and experiences excessive fluctuations. In this planetary transition, the only way to break free from these fluctuations and to move forward in straightening our adherence to the evolutionary plan, to the evolutionary laws that currently govern the transition, is for us to find attunement, to align ourselves, to synchronize ourselves to those internal laws that represent our inner life.
What is the substance? What exactly is substance and why it is important? Substance refers to the essential nature of essence of something, encompassing its physical properties, qualities, and characteristics. In various contexts, such as philosophy, chemistry, or everyday life, understanding substance helps us grasp the fundamental components that make up the world around us and the principles that govern it. By exploring the notion of the substance, we can gain deeper insights into the nature of reality and the materials that compose both living and not living entities.
Substance is an aspect relating to energy. Everything is energy. Substance is an aspect of energy that has a very broad scope and serves to be associated with consciousness in accordance with the evolutionary experiences that must be undergone. When a being is born as consciousness, it has a foundation that is immutable, immortal, and indissoluble, which is the essence. Everything that happens takes place on the foundation of that essence. On that foundation of the essence, you will have two fundamental elements with which to work towards evolution: consciousness and substance. The essence is imperishable. Consciousness is essence. Consciousness is mutable. Substance adapts to the mutability of consciousness. Therefore, the relationship between substance, essence, and consciousness is the perfect evolutionary relationship, because it is upon these foundations that the being can experience its expansion and transformation.
It is said that a being subject to the law of karma progresses in accordance with their mastery of the material laws. What do the material laws mean? They are laws relating to different states of substance: mental substance, astral emotional substance, and etheric physical substance. It is therefore essential to understand that substance is the field in which we practice mastering the laws. If there were no substance when we are born as consciousness, we would have no consistent field with which to interact and learn to master the laws. For the substance presented to us at each stage, let us take the human evolutionary line as an example. The initial substance is what we defined as mineral substance. All that is mineral substance in primordial substance. It must be borne in mind that the mineral kingdom, as we know it, is not the mineral kingdom of this planet.
The mineral kingdom of this planet is quite advanced. We are referring to mineral substance in the earliest stages of evolution, which is far more primitive than the mineral substance of this planet. So let us suppose that a being is born as consciousness and is associated with a degree of substance on an immutable, eternal, and imperishable basis. The essence. Essence nourishes expression and nourishes consciousness in its relationship with substance, so that consciousness may undergo every experience that has ever been, will ever be, and is archetypically planned for it, without running the risk of any kind of destruction or self-destruction. Essence transmits a degree of immortality to consciousness. It is what nourishes the immortality of consciousness. The relationship between consciousness and essence never ends. It is imperishable. But at some point, what becomes sublimated is the relationship between consciousness and substance. Thus, substance is a kind of energy level. It is an energy condition that adjusts according to vibrational and magnetic ranges and types, in order to provide consciousness with a foundation upon which they exercise dominion, or so to speak, the mastery over certain laws that substance offers.
I would like to see clarification regarding machines. It is said that a light in the sky represents hierarchy, and I wanted to ask, how does a ship, matter, or a substance, which is machine, differs from this?
Daniel Gagliardo says, well, a spacecraft, a ship, so-called mothership or nourishment ship, which we may describe as a tool of the higher hierarchies, is never a machine. It is substance. Substance is actually known by an alternative term, consciousness vessel. When substance responds to very high levels of consciousness, of cosmic consciousness, it is not a machine, but a vessel of consciousness. That is, a type of substance capable of entering into a state of empathy with a being or a group of beings, and within that state of empathy and communion, it serves as a cosmic plasma to move through whatever context is required. That is a vessel of consciousness. Thus, a machine is an entity that can only be defined as such under the law of karma. That is to say, it has parts, it has fuel, and it's fallible. A machine always from a karmic perspective.
When the hierarchies are at a stage where they cannot yet manifest a certain level of energy on their own, they are assisted by universal cosmic plasma. That is to say, the law of universal cosmic plasma provides them with a degree of substance upon which and with which they can manifest themselves or move within the cosmic field relevant to them at that stage.
Therefore, a light seen in the sky, is not always a spacecraft. At present, there are lights that are manifestation of psychic forces, of astral forces, because astral entities have become so powerful that in some cases, given that humanity as a whole is astral fissured, with 90% being astral fissured, many people release a degree of substance that is unknown to science, but is recognized in occult and esoteric terms. It is called ectoplasmic substance or ectoplasm.
When humanity, without realizing it, releases this substance at the right condition are met, certain astral forces find this collective ectoplasmic release a field of projection. In other words, they do not project themselves directly into the planetary etheric field. They project themselves into an etheric ectoplasmic combination that causes them to become visible all times. As the situation on the planet worsens, as it worsens, entities from the astral plane will begin to project themselves continuously, putting on a show by posing as angels, archangels, or whatever those beings who will serve as vessels for these projections regard as the highest. Some will say it is God, others will say they are angels or archangels, whilst the immature chatters will claim they are extraterrestrial beings coming to help us, when in reality they are deterrent forces, entities that are primarily, not exclusively, astral. They are psychic entities that will utilize this ectoplasmic material combined with an etheric base, which in many cases will be highly densified, and they will project themselves as if they were a hologram. This will lead many people to end up worshipping the darkness.
How can we precisely articulate the concept of essence? Is it possible to perceive it as a manifestation of energy?
Yes, it is an expression of energy. Essence is also an expression of energy. Everything responds to the law of energy because energy is everything. Energy itself manifests in different ways, adopting the necessary forms for the evolutionary process of everything we know. Therefore, while energy can be adapted and vary on aspect of its project itself as immutable, indestructible, and indivisible, it cannot be tainted, divided, or distorted. It is an immutable aspect of energy. When we say that elements undergo change because there is something immutable, the direct instrument of that immutability in terms of energy is essence. Therefore, each of us has an immutable and indivisible essential principle, and we have the opportunity to experience change, expansion, and transformation because we possess this solid foundation that will never shift. We can undergo all kinds of experiences during the evolutionary process.
Some are more limited under the law of karma. But as we progress to other laws, experience become broader and different. Exploring transformation in the three aspects of the law of evolution, this unchanging essence offers a foundation. To illustrate it, some of you perhaps have been to a swimming pool, some have used diving boards. If the board broke just as you were about to jump, you couldn't dive. While many diving boards are flexible, competition boards are made of concrete that doesn't budge. They are made of concrete so that during spectacular dives, the diver absorbs the momentum, not the surface.
So, this is the example that comes to mind at this moment to help us understand the function of the essence. Being indivisible, that is, incapable of being tamed, and being immortal, so to speak, internal, indefinite, and unchangeable. It offers the solidity and firmness we all need for any kind of evolutionary artistic leaping experience.
Thus, the essence is an offering of infinite energy, because while the relationship with substance changes, the relationship with the essence never changes.
For consciousness to be the essence, it simply is. It is therefore not created, it is an uncreated expression, for it is the direct expression of one of the qualities of the immutable through its absolute arm, the laws of energy.
Thus, the essence is an immutable aspect of the laws of energy. Consciousness is therefore brought forth, and is brought forth on the basis that the essence sustains this birth. And consciousness undergoes its evolutionary journey with the absolute guarantee that this journey, this path, will always be sustained, regardless of the conditions and the characteristics it may require, because the essence will remain, so to speak, steadfast in its relationship with the consciousness. As for the substance, this is the third component that will undergo change according to what consciousness requires, guaranteed by the unessence, which, by remaining unchangeable, serves as absolute and infinite fuel for consciousness. Yet the substance itself will undergo change. There will come a time when the consciousness-essence relationship will require an immense and ever-increasing synthesis on the part of the substance, until we may say, symbolically speaking, that this synthesis of essence and consciousness will occur at such a lofty level that the substance will, practically speaking, gradually begin to be left behind.
This is because there are evolutionary aspects of the consciousness that can only be addressed when finally, after cycles that are beyond our grasp, because we cannot imagine them, after cycles in which substance, far from being the field, where consciousness practices mastery of the cosmic laws, would become a chain, preventing it from continuing to grow. At that moment,
the laws and the hierarchies allow essence and consciousness, in a beautiful synthesis, to transcend the relationship of the triangle with which they have been working. Let us remember that now, and through cycle after cycle, the evolutionary relationship is substance, consciousness, essence. But at some point, substance will be left behind. In the context of our discussion on essence and energy, could Daniel Gagliardo clarify whether the term essence is synonymous with the honor zone? How do these concepts interrelate? And what implications does this have for our understanding of honor zone? Daniel Gagliardo answers, no, Essence is more than ozone. Everything else operates on the basis of essence. So, ozone comprises the universal cosmic laws. It is an aspect of energy, but ozone is associated with essence, and essence is far more than ozone itself, because it represents a degree of synthesis. Ozone is a set of aspects of energy, of the laws of energy, while essence is an absolutely unalterable, indivisible aspect of energy. Any aspect of a law or any aspect of energy is invariably associated with the essence. Any aspect, but the essence itself has a status that precedes any subdivision of the law of the unique energy. In other words, the unique energy expresses itself through a single law. The single law is what directly sustains its expression through what is called the essence, and everything else comes after that. Every law, the energy of ozone, is a set of laws, is therefore an expression of the unique energy that is subsequent to essence. Because for a law to be established and to function, it requires the platform of essence to determine how and in what way could be expressed. Daniel Gagliardo answers, no, essence is more than ozone. Everything else operates on the basis of essence. So, ozone comprises the universal cosmic laws. It is an aspect of energy, but ozone is associated with essence, and essence is far more than ozone itself, because it represents a degree of synthesis. Ozone is a set of aspects of energy, of the laws of energy, while essence is an absolutely unalterable, indivisible aspect of energy. Any aspect of a law or any aspect of energy is invariably associated with the essence. Any aspect, but the essence itself has a status that precedes any subdivision of the law of the unique energy. In other words, the unique energy expresses itself through a single law. The single law is what directly sustains its expression through what is called the essence, and everything else comes after that. Every law, the energy of ozone, is a set of laws, is therefore an expression of the unique energy that is subsequent to essence. Because for a law to be established and to function, it requires the platform of essence to determine how and in what way could be expressed.
An in-depth exploration of cosmic life, spiritual laws, offering guidance for the current planetary transition. A collection of quotes featuring insightful recordings of Daniel Gagliardo's teachings, the founder and instructor of Cosmosophy, line Uksim.